Bet you, how much you want to bet this was a crappy teacher, and she couldn't keep the kids in line, and these kids just, they kind of sense, they didn't maybe have the conscious thought of like, hey, this gal's a poser, she's kissing our ass, the hair on my neck is going up, we're not learning anything about science. They may have not had that conscious thought, but they probably smelled a rat. Like most kids, smart kids do anyway, when you got your teachers up there in front of you blowing smoke up your rear. And they probably revolted. And then, in other words, it wasn't necessarily racism. They weren't giving her guff because she was a white teacher. They were just giving her guff and then pulling whatever. And then they made her snap. They blew her cover. And then she blew up. And then, now the reality of the world gets to you, precious little teachers. Now you prissy little white girls of the suburbs who's going to go to the inner city and help the disadvantaged youth with this pie-in-the-sky poppycock BS, just like no different than a religion, no different than a missionary. You're going to go, what, bring Christ to the natives? Is that what you were going to do? You're going to go bring socialism to the black kids in Harlem? And it's just like bringing the God or Catholicism to the Indians, and I mean the Spaniards, by force through violence. It's not for the benefit of these natives. It's not for the benefit of the kids. It was always for the ego masturbation of the religious people, the clergymen, what we call them, the zealots, the ideologues. That's all teachers are now. But the especially precious ones are the, quote, missionaries that leave like evil white suburbia Western civilization land, and you're going to go help out those poor kids in the inner city. And I think there's an element of racial tensions. Certainly there may be some outright bigotry on both sides. I'd say more the kids than the teacher, but the, hey, I'm here to help you because I know this sanctimonious, magnanimous, arrogant, cocky, I'm going to help you because you guys are too stupid to figure it out yourself. And we have this thing called socialism. It's the new Jesus Christ. And then when the natives revolt, then when over on Cook Island they eat Captain Cook, the cannibals, and then you blow up. Then when you realize they're not like us. They're not converting. They're all a bunch of niggers and whatever other things she said. Then all of a sudden, I guess your church back home is going to fire you because that's not the religion. See. You can't point out racial differences. You certainly can't call people racial epithets. Now, that is discrimination and race. That's uncalled for. But I just love it when these leftists, these socialists, and the frontline idiots, the dupes, the true dupes, not the devils, but the dupes, they're gonna go and they're gonna help out, and then they go teach in an inner city, and then they get windmilled. They get screwed over by their own. No one stands up for them. Nope, done. You're done. So what do you do now? What do you teachers that end up facing the real world realities of socialism and race relations and all that, what do you do when all of a sudden, like, look, she tried to help these kids saying, like, you're all going to get shot. She was probably did take it seriously. It's like, you guys have got to learn this stuff. Otherwise you're not going to survive. You're not going to make it, blah, 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 for whatever care there may have been there. I forgot where I was going. But it's just nice to see. It's nice to see a leftist. Well, that's what I was going to say. What do you do now? You can't go teach ever again. It's over for you. And now without college support, educational support, government support, without this leftist machine running constant cover for you. Guess what, sugar? You can't say that either on the Curse Fruit. Guess what, sweetheart? You got to work for a living. You're in the private sector now. You get to live in the real world. There's no longer this huge government machine creating make-work jobs for you precious little teacher majors, you little education babysitting majors. If you slay or you slice at one of the main tenets and pillars of this socialism thing. Well, and also if you have egregious behavior like that, so I can kind of understand. But now, what are you going to do, huh? What are you going to do? I thought they were just oppressed and misunderstood, sweetheart. I thought that it was always Whitey's fault. that of all their problems. And now you face it. Oh my gosh, you cracked you. Oh, see the problem is she tried to lay down the law, but then she called them names. So it's like you may have tried to provide some tough love, but you don't do that by calling black kids niggers. Just a rule, just a little bit of a tidbit of advice there for you, just a little bit of a free consultation. If you want to help out a young black kid, you don't lead in with the nigger comment, okay? Just saying, you know? You want to help Hispanics, you don't go in there saying spick, you know? The Irish, although they don't really need that much help, you don't say Mick or Alky. So that's one. Now the other thing, what is the other thing? Yeah, let's pull it up here. Oh, here's an advice for everybody, okay? For whatever reason, be it the racial tensions or just general tensions, you can't even call it race because it seems to be prissy, white, spoiled brats in the suburbs that are protesting Trump. For whatever reason, you're getting angry at people or you're trying to convince them they're wrong, okay? To the point that it would trigger behavior from you that would get you in trouble, or that could get you in trouble in the law. But if it comes to that point where you've gone from trying to discuss and have a conversation with someone to try to convince them, reason with them, argue with them, not in a mean way. If it's gone from trying to reason them to your side to the fact that they're cursing at you, they're threatening you, and that you want to cause them harm, okay, fine. That's fine if you want to cause people harm. I'm all with you on that. But there's two ways to cause people harm. And one way is that you'll go ahead and get yourself in trouble, either at the law or you'll end up getting in a fight or whatever, or you give them enough rope to hang themselves. All right, perfect example, and this applies to most of my listening audience. Look, we're right because we're empiricists, we want truth, we don't have an ideology, it's not a religion. Okay, so we are trying to convince these people of what is right. Not morally. It was just like, this is how the real world works. You can't all be collecting a government check. No, you're not discriminating. I mean, all this stuff, we are 100% right. There's no doubt about it. I don't mean that in a religious sense. I mean that like we've looked it up. It all makes sense. It's been, here's the data. It's not a debate as far as I'm concerned, which is why I have the betting tactic and all this and why I'm going to tell you about this now. So if the person you're arguing with is arguing against reality, basically, you don't have to do anything to cause that person harm. I got a client now, he wants me to do an a-hole consulting video where he tried to debate this leftist, and he showed me the screenshots of the Facebook encounter, and I'm like, okay, she obviously, one, doesn't want to listen to reason or evidence, two, is set on her mind and is closed-minded, and three, is starting to insult you and call you a fascist and a Nazi and all this other stuff. All right, fine. If you really want to get back at her, let her live her life. Let her continue on living in this delusional reality. I mean, it's no coincidence that the people who are most delusional are young because they don't live in the real world. They live in school where teachers like this are telling them stupid things and, oh, socialism is great and it's not your responsibility for everything or anything. So these kids, let them live in this delusional world. Let the kids, you know what? If the kids are giving you a guff in science class and they don't want to study science, you know what? Let them. Fine. Because if you're going to get to the point that you want to curse at them and swear at them, and you obviously want them to do bad, then, like you want to cause them harm because you're calling them nigger or whatever else, why would you lose your career, lose your job, get outcast as a genuine racist, risk yourself a physical conflict? Why would you risk any of that when the real world is going to do so much more harm and damage to them? Where the real world is going to screw them over so badly that no matter, and they're not going to listen to you anyway, but you could come up with the most evil of ways to get your revenge on these people. But it's not going to come anywhere near as close as to what the real world's going to do. The real world, and if you let them, if you push them, if you accelerate them into the real world, with their cluelessness, like you agree and amplify, you're just going to make it work. Classic example. Let me give you an example. in the increasingly rarer times that I'm running into arguments with younger people, especially talking about their degrees, they always tell me, okay, you're a racist, you're whatever the disagreement is. It's already gone hostile. They're already calling me names. They don't care to listen to reason or evidence. I'm actually trying to help them. So I always say, typically it's the context of like people saying like your video on journalism majors is wrong, and you're not and they do the there. That's the kind of arguments they're talking about. So I've insulted their degree. They don't think they want to get back at me or whatever. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm trying to help you. You're going to call me names, fine. And you know what I do with these kids? You know what I tell them? I say, you know what? If you had a master's, and certainly if you had a doctorate, I'd take you more seriously. But right now, you're just another typical 20-something millennial with a bachelor's degree, and that is nothing notable or noteworthy. I push them to get their doctorate. I push them to get their master's degree. Why? Because that is going to screw them up way more than me beating them in an alley. That is going to ruin their lives way more than me ripping them a new one on the internet, making them cry for 10 minutes. I mean, I got this technique from the guy at the bar. Long story short, I think I've told it before, but basically, I was at a bar, I was in a foul mood, I was already pretty drunk, and I see this fat, bald old guy coming in with this hot babe. And I was just pissed. I think I had dealt with another drama, typical American date where it's like, screw this, I'm done with this. And so I'm like looking at it, and then I was so drunk, I was not thinking correctly. So he went to the bathroom. I walked up there. I said, why the hell are you with that fat old man? What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with me? What has he got that I don't have? And she couldn't answer. I think it was such a ballsy move. She couldn't answer. I said, screw it. And I just went back down. Well, she told this guy, and I later found out that she was a prostitute. She was a call girl. You know what this guy did? Did this guy like come over and do the chest bump thing? No, you know what he did? He bought me another drink. Why? Because he knew that even if we got into a fight, he'd cause me a hell of a lot more damage than if he got me that extra drink that put me over into like Hangoverville and Throw Upville. And that guy did it. That guy caused me more damage with that sly, couth, clever extra drink than any kind of fight or confrontation ever did or ever would. And that's what I'm saying here. Let the real world do this work for you. Another perfect example. Told you this story before again. There was the kid that got drunk in my class and punched me and kicked my car window in. They kicked him out of the school I was teaching at. Then I found out the school let him back in, and I was pissed. I'm like, God damn it. Okay, wait a minute. What really happened there? What ended up happening is he went back to that fly-by-night, for-profit scam artist school, and he ended up signing up for another $37,000 worth of loans. Let the kid live in the real, let him go down that path. And now I don't even think he's working in whatever field it was that he was studying. I keep tabs on him. I know where he is. I don't forget. But what happened in reality is that he ended up having to go into further debt, further student loan debt, and his life was ruined all that much more. I'm saying, look, if it comes to this point that you're going to start cursing and swearing at people or calling them racial epithets, let them go. If you're on this side, if you're on the right side, libertarian conservative side of reality, self-responsibility, self-ownership, all that other stuff, and you get in a debate or an argument with someone about these general political, philosophical, economic topics, and they're going to call you names, and it's going to start becoming name calling. It's devolved to that. You know what? Encourage them. Let them go. Trick them. Say, yep, you know what? Go ahead. You go get your doctorate in women's studies. You know what? Yep, you're right. You don't need a man. You don't need no man. Fish bicycle. You know what? Yep, you're right. You're a virgin, Tom. By God, you should be a virgin. There is no reason to take it upon yourself the task of educating these fools. Well, they're not going to be educated. You're just going to fight them. That's all. You're just going to further ensconce them. Let life... And you know what? Life is so vicious and cruel. You know why? You know, you can't... It's really hard to beat the punishment that life is going to deal out to these people. Just think about the time you spend living life deluded, living under false pretenses, under wrong assumptions. Okay, most of my audience has listened to this, maybe not all the girls, but most of you guys have. How many of you, what was the price you guys paid actually believing the single mom BS and all this touchy-feely, sensitive 90s guy BS where you're just supposed to be yourself and be nice to girls and all that? How much did you pay? Not in terms of like what you actually had to pay, like, I bought all these flowers, I did all these things. Like, I'm not talking the financial cost or the time cost. I'm talking the psychological pain you would endure. Where like, I'm doing everything it's not working. That confusion, that insanity. And then the anger and rage when you found out a little bit older, once we pieced together our notes, and hey, wait a minute, we've been lied to this entire time. What was that pain like? What was it like having nobody tell you what the real world was like? Because they either didn't want to hurt your feelings, or in the case of leftists, they want your vote, or they want your money, or they're going to use you as teachers do, as ways to profit off of you. Oh, yep, everything's racism. Nope, it's not your fault that you had 3 kids out of wedlock and you blame everything on racism. Nope, it's all whitey. How many, look at forget dating. Talk about the poor black community where they actually believe it's whitey keeping them down. How much pain and suffering do they suffer there psychologically? I'm talking. I know we see them financially and all that. That's documented. But imagine if you are your average young black kid. You're constantly told it's impossible. You're constantly told whitey's out to get you. And then you try or you don't try. You fail, but there's no way out. There's no seeming solution. It's just really, really bad luck. Or you girls that are fat. And you believe in this fat acceptance BS, that men should like you for who you are, and they're shallow if they don't want to have sex with a 300-pound sow. What? And then and after a certain amount of time, you're not having any dates. You're not meeting any men you want to meet. You're not going to have a family. And those are certainly the cause. But then what's the psychological pain? That you live decades, perhaps your entire life as a feminist, not knowing why no man ever wanted to marry you or date you or have sex with you or have kids with you. You lost that. What's that like? And that's the pain that people who want to live in a delusional world of socialism, lack of responsibility, I'm entitled to everything. Oh, you want to talk about another example? Just look at the Bleep and Bleep show of these kids who think Trump is going to come down and kill them. Look at these people who are protesting, and they got to go to their safe spaces because they were not told what the real world was like. They've never been exposed to the real world. And what are their futures going to be like when they can't even function in the real world? You could have an entire day with that person, yelling and screaming at them, perhaps going several rounds with them in a ring, having their hands tied, but you could beat the crap out of them. You know what? It's going to come nowhere near to the pain and agony and confusion, the insanity they're going to suffer because they don't live in the real world. I looked up the guy, I just kept tabs on him. They foreclosed on this guy. The guy lost his house. I think he went through divorce. I couldn't tell with the divorce records. He's a loser. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything. This person has been led to believe that he's better than everyone else. The laws don't apply to him, that he doesn't have to pay his house back. I could not, maybe I could because I'm evil, but I would have to spend a lot of time, think of a lot of sadistic stuff to wreak equivalent or more damage and havoc that the real world has wreaked on this guy for me. Well, not personally for me, but on himself, basically. There's another juicy tidbit. You want to talk about a blow to the ego when they find out they did it to themselves. Oh, that's great. And that's the first step towards becoming a good person. But this gal, you want to know what this gal should have done? Should have just walked out. Of course, her belief in the religion is so strong. Maybe that's where it had to come to a confrontation. She should have just walked out. And then I'm saying it for you guys, okay? If you ever get to this point, you're trying to teach kids, for those few, 1 or 2 of you that happen to be conservative or libertarian teachers, You're trying to help out kids. Doesn't matter what race. They're all stupid. And you're trying to, hey, you got to major in this. You're trying to undo all the brain. And they tell you to shove it or they don't respect you. Fine, you know what? Go to the principal. If it gets that bad that you got to start calling me, go to the principal and say, you know what? I just need a timeout. You're going to have to get a substitute. Walk away. Get a different career, a different profession. Do something else. But don't start name calling, because here's the reason. One, not only is it not effective, but now there's some other risks. There's your career risk, there's your educational risk, there's your finance risk, there's a physical risk. People, don't like being called names, and if it's already got to that level, and you're not dealing with very intelligent people, if you're arguing with leftists, they're purely emotional creatures. Some of them will revert to violence, although I kind of get a joke out of looking at some of these hipster males. It's like, yeah. It's like a Tiger tank going up against a bunch of Shermans. It's not a competition. But there's a physical risk. What? Why do it? Let them go. Let them go. The guy that you know who's got the controlling, manipulative, I can't say it, mean girlfriend or wife, and he doesn't listen to it, let him go. He'll learn. He will learn. The abusive boyfriend, the girl's really hot, but then she goes out with the abusive guy, and you're like, dude, I'm a nice guy. Let her go. Let her go. She'll get knocked up. She'll get beaten up. I've seen it happen multiple times. Let it go. Let it go. And especially the kids. And by kids, I mean 30 and under, millennial generation and under, K through college. I mean, unfortunately, they've been brainwashed to such a point that the teachers get in on them, and they're essentially brainwashed zombies. I don't think there's any genuine independent thought going on there. But if it's your life, your career, trying to vainly, by the way, save these kids so that they might not go get shot, they might have jobs, they might major in STEM, they might not be a debt-laden college graduate slinging coffee, and they're going to call you names or give you guff or just not respect, fine, let them go. Because I don't know about you, no matter how hard a punch I throw, I cannot cause as much damage as a $200,000 liberal arts degree from, Middlebury? Is that one of them out there in the East Coast? I can't cause that much damage. I cannot. Okay, well, there's that one guy who punched the girl who attacked him and knocked her out. Now she's got brain damage. Okay. And it is funny because women want to be equal. She was attacking him. So I'm just saying, maybe you can cause a little bit, but then now you got legal trouble. See what I'm saying? Let them go. Avoid them. Don't do business with them. Have nothing to do with them. Encourage them. Still, buy Clary that extra drink when he yells at your whore that you just rented for the night. Encourage that girl to continue on to get a master's in journalism or a doctorate, and then you'd really respect. Let them go. But it ain't worth fighting this fight when the real world is going to do it for you. And you know what's sad? What's sad, but it's also great because they deserve it, is, like I said, I always wonder what these people think on their deathbed. Like, do they realize that their life was completely wasted following socialist, leftist, indoctrinated virtues? Do feminists ever wake up on their death? Because they're happening. It's happening. This third wave, whatever the 60s feminists were, they're going to be dying and their lives are over. It's not, even if they did realize it, they got 1 or 2 years left max before they die. Do you want to be that person? You don't want to be, but by gosh, it sure feels good when they've caused you all this grief and pain and agony in life, ruining dating for everyone else, ruining society, ruining Western civilization, ruining the United States, that when they die, when they're on that deathbed, and no one really hangs out with them because single moms or dysfunctional families or no children, whatever, fine. I cannot help but think they got to think, I ruined it. And even if they did it, they ruined their entire lives. They wasted it. This guy's got to be pushing 40 by now. He's halfway dead, this personal guy that I know. And he just got foreclosed on 2 years ago. Come on. This guy's in his 30s. He still hasn't figured it out. Let him go. Let him go. Get divorced. Get knocked up. Go do your thing. Yep, you're right. You're right. There's no amount of havoc or revenge that you could wreak upon these people that the real world is going to do itself. So I say let them go. All right, let's do some sponsors here. Make it a very happy Christmas, a very cappy Christmas, by helping the captain pay off his mortgage. You say, oh, do I have to give you money? Are you turned socialist? No. Just go to my Amazon affiliate account and do all your Christmas shopping there, all your online shopping there, forever, for the rest of your life, and then actually I probably wouldn't even need Social Security. But if you do all your online shopping through your Amazon affiliate account of the Old Captain, that will make me very happy. And if all of my listeners were to do that, my financial projections calculate that I could pay off my mortgage by Christmas. And no one is like a couple people, but we are so far behind. But if you want to help out the Old Captain, please do so. You can find my Amazon affiliate account. You go to captaincapitalism.blogspot.com. Click on the little Amazon banner, little logo there. That'll take you to Amazon's page, and then any of the shopping that you do during that shopping session, I get a 7% cut of all your purchases.